Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. This time, I saw Trust. This is a crime drama film directed by David Schwimmer from 2010, and it stars Clive Owen, Catherine Keener, Liana Liberato, Jason Clarke, and Viola Davis. Uh, in this film, a suburban family is torn apart when 14-year-old Annie meets her first boyfriend online. After months of communicating via online chat and phone, Annie discovers her friend is not who he originally claimed to be. Shocked into disbelief, her parents are shattered by their daughter's actions and struggle to support her as she comes to terms with what has happened to her once innocent life. So, what did I think of Trust? Well, I've had this on my watch list for a bit because I'm very curious about the subject of online predators as I am. While I wasn't underage when what happened to me happened, it still did leave a hole that took a while to fill back. Um, and this might get a little emotional, I don't know. I'm already tearing up a little bit, but I was wondering how accurate this film would be to what happens. And I know it's different for everybody, and this is based on a single true case. But this film really does nothing new and is, to be honest, really generic, like insanely generic for this type of film, to the point where I'd rather watch an hour and a half Lifetime movie on the same subject. Now, this is better than Cyberbully. I will say that right fucking now. It is a lot better than Cyberbully. Better acting from most of the cast, um, better direction, pretty much everything better than Cyberbully. But as someone who has been through this similar type of uh I was very disappointed by David Schwimmer. But excuse me. Don't get me wrong, there are bits of this film that do work, and I'll get to that. This is going to be a spoiler review because I have this film in that way. So, um my thing I always do, warning spoilers. Spoilers for Trust from 2010 or 2011. Some places say 2011 because it went to film festivals in 2010 and then came to American cinemas in 2011. It's one of those things. Um, the cast. Almost forgot what I was doing. Clive Owen plays William Cameron, the father of Alice, the girl who was raped. Um, I like Clive Owen. I think he does a great job here. Him and Liana are some of the shining graces of the film. Um, he plays the character perfectly, and it doesn't feel like it's way too dramatic or anything. Feels like they're taking everything seriously, which is good for this type of film. Um, Catherine Keener plays Lynn Cameron, the mother. I like Catherine Keener usually, but and I've seen her in good leading roles. Here, she seems really bland, like she's not being given the best direction, maybe. I don't know. She's the odd one out in performance-wise because a lot of her lines come off very flat. There's a scene in at the mall where she's at the mall with her daughter and the daughter's friend, and she's like, "How was shopping? How are you doing?" Like she's talking like that, and it really did take me out of the scene because I was like, "What the fuck is she doing?" Like, why are you talking like that? Even when she's like flipping off the driver behind her that's like honking his horn at her, she's like, up yours. Like, I don't, she never does that. She does mostly get, she's mostly very underwhelming acting wise. Um, Liana Liberty Annie, the girl, she's a 14-year-old who was raped by this guy online. Um, she is the best performance of the film. She outshines Clive Owen easily. And I don't say that usually because I do love Clive Owen, and I haven't seen Liana in a lot of films. Apparently, she was in Scream 6. Apparently, she's in Totally Killer. I guess she was the girl in Erased. Aaron Eckhart and Olga Kurylenko. I didn't remember much of that film. She's in Trespass with Nicolas Cage. She's in a lot of random movies. But she does a great job here, really sells the character. One of the best child acting performances I've seen in recent memory. So that's definitely something. Jason Clarke plays FBI agent Doug Tate, FBI agent on her case. Um, he's kind of a non-entity, excuse me. He doesn't really do much in the film, and I'm not saying like in the way of helping the investigation, he doesn't do much. He kind of disappears for the last half of the film too, which is weird. Um, he's fine, I guess. He also looks weird. I've seen this guy in many things, and he just looked so off here. Like his face looked kind of fucked up. I don't know what happened. And Viola Davis plays Gail Friedman, uh, an abuse counselor. Um, Clive Owen and Leona Liberato's characters talk to. I like her here, even though she's pissed me off IRL with some of her opinions and some of her thoughts on certain things. Uh, but yeah, she did fine here. So, in order to context for why I said I have dealt with this, I'm not gonna go into a big diatribe about it, but when I was starting to go online and all this stuff, and I ended up talking to a lot of people. I was a dumb kid. Still, even though I was 19, I was a dumb kid. I found this person that I seemed to with who told me that he was 26, and he used pictures of some other guy. And after a year of us talking, he then revealed to me that he was 60 years old. And this broke my fucking heart because I was starting to fall for this. Now, it's a good thing I never went as far as to meet him before I knew all of this about him and that he was using photos of someone who for his company or something because he owned a company. But it did it did irreversible pain to me as someone who is overly trusting of trusted many people that have gone behind my back and done horrible things. And yes, have I forgiven this person? I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever have to because they lied to me. I felt used. So, watching this movie, I was a bit upset. There were certain moments. Again, this person never did anything to me physically, just emotionally. But watching this movie, there were scenes that got to me. The scene where excuse me. The scene where Alice meets up with this guy that she knows by the name of Charlie in the mall and he turns out to be this like 40-year-old guy. It got to me. It did. I felt emotion. She played it fantastically. Acting in these scenes are some of the part where she's in the hotel room and they're about to have sex and they don't show it, they insinuate it and they play it off as this terrible thing, which pisses me off when shows like Shameless, the US Shameless at least, I didn't watch the UK one, have the scenes with Cameron Monaghan and I think he's Pakistani, the gas station or not gas station, convenience store owner that he ends up having sex with even though he's a kid. Those scenes are treated as if that's okay. And I fucking hate that show, by the way. Not just because of that, but a lot of its themes having to do with alcoholism and how, oh, whenever the dad's alcoholic, he's nice, but it'll be bad because when he goes back to being an alcoholic, the kids will freak out or whatever. So they basically force him to become an alcoholic again, which I find really fucking who's dealt with alcoholics in my life. Um, and friends who have alcoholic parents. Um, this film did that way better because it treated it as if something horrible was happening because it was. Rape is a it is. It's a crime that many people feel like they either can't talk about or that they feel like talk to anybody about because they're going to be viewed. And in certain other countries, you get literally stoned to death and or whatever country in the Middle East, you get stoned to death if it's found out that you're raped. So there you can literally not talk to anybody about it for you know murder. So I can understand why somebody would want to tell this story as a way of telling parents, okay, give children some freedom, but don't like still be a fucking parent. That's what this movie is going for. But the issue there is that in David Schwimmer's pursuit to tell a realistic or grounded story, he forgot the one, goal, which is make an engaging film. Again, there are many people that disagree with me. On Letterboxd, it has a 3.1 out of 5, which means people seem to find it pretty good. Most of the reviews are um, the highest amount of reviews are what I gave it, um, a 3 out of 5, which, yes, I still find watchable. But I'd much rather watch a Lifetime movie based on the same thing because A, Lifetime isn't going to make it. They're not going like again, this film didn't do this. It didn't sexualize it. It made it feel grim, disgusting, dirty, as it should because it is a violent crime. And you know that with Lifetime movies, for the most part, they have some type of ending. One of the biggest things I can say against this film is that the ending fucking sucks. Not because it is not just because it is a very abrupt ending, but because the story isn't over. It's one of those endings where it feels like they're trying to be like, "Oh, I wonder what happened next. You'll have to read up on the actual case," type of things. It kind of reminded me of The Devil Inside, where the ending of the film is literally just go to this website and read up about the case, the true case that's not true. And literally the last scene of this movie is Clive Owen's character, like the dad crying to the daughter about I don't know if you can ever forgive me. They hold each other and then it cuts to black and then you see like home video of the guy who raped her with his family. And I'm like, I don't know what this is trying to say. I don't. Like, oh, he has a normal family, but he also goes after young girls. Like, I'm sorry, would that not have been a really good scene to have dramatically where they end up finding the guy with the help of the dad? Um, and the wife is like confused about all of this, and then she finds out that her husband has been molesting little girls. Like, would that not have been a scene that you could have added in to make the emotions in the film feel a bit more, like it would have added something. Like the fact that this film doesn't really go that deep into the investigation, the dad really doesn't do much. Like In the first half of the film, seems like they're setting up some type of revenge thing, which I knew it probably wasn't going to go through with that because, again, this is trying to be an accessible kind of film, and I think that kind of hurt it. The fact that it tries to be so accessible and be also about this topic. Yes, they go into some dark places with this. The topic of suicide is mentioned, the topic of denial. She's in denial that this guy raped her until she finds out that he did this to other girls. There are well done things in this film, but the thing that keeps me from saying that it's a good film constantly is that it takes no real chances. It doesn't do anything fresh, inventive. And I know it's Millennium Entertainment that released it, the company that brought us a, tons of action movies that are famous, the Olympus Has Fallen trilogy, the Expendables, Rambo, all of these things, and they tried to diversify their portfolio by bringing on David Schwimmer to do this type of movie, or David Schwimmer made the movie and they distributed it. I don't fucking know. But when you do something like this, you have to add something to it. There has to be like a hook. And you kind of have that with this, but also kind of not. The film is insanely hollow in many places, and it breaks my heart to see that because it is a really fucked up um it's a really fucked up subject. Like there are ways you could have done this differently and could have done a really effective film. I've got an idea right now. What if instead of it being a young girl, what if it's a teenage boy? Something that almost never gets talked about. You almost always in all of these abduction film, like child abduction films or sex trafficking or sexual assault movies, underage rape type of movies, you almost never have a male victim. That would be an entirely new perspective to explore. That would be such an interesting like difference. What if instead of a girl being assaulted, it was a boy? I say this because I can literally not think of a single movie that has done this currently. Sound of Freedom, I don't think really counts because the boy gets rescued before anything happens, but that would offer a fresh perspective and him not talking about it with his family because he's afraid of talking about this type of thing and talking about the fact that male victims of rape are way less likely to talk about it than women. That is an interesting perspective you could have explored. That would have been something new. Even at the time this came out, 2010 or 2011, there had been many movies about this kind of subject. There were many TV movies, many movies in theaters about cyberbullying and all of this, and very similar situations about catfishing. And this one really squandered what could have been a very touching, hard to watch film. And yes, this has scenes that are hard to watch. Yes. But pretty much all of the scenes that really affected me were in the first half. In the second half, when she attempts to commit suicide, I really didn't feel much because the film kind of lost me by that point. The story just kind of meandered after the second half, and I was disappointed by that because I'd hoped that at least in a film like this, the performances would be able to carry it. But the fact that Catherine Keener is kind of off and Clive Owen is being oversold by his, he is being outdone acting wise by Liana Liberato. Kind of messes things up a little bit. I'm not saying it's her fault, but it's so close to being a decent film. So close. It just needed to do something different because literally everything in this is in the textbook of how to make films about this subject. And it was really disappointing. There are so many things you could have done to make it different. Again, make it so that the ending is Clive Owen finding the guy. Like, I'm not saying make it a Taken type thing or straight up revenge. You don't have to have him actually kill him, but the the thing is, you need some type of ending that gives people more hope for this type of thing. The ending to this film, if anything, I feel like it's very nihilistic, and it just feels like the ending is just like, oh, rape victims, fuck you. I guess you just have to deal with with the FBI system, whatever. Nothing ever happens, which is I don't like that. It's I won't say mean-spirited, but it just doesn't feel very good to hear someone who hasn't been assaulted. Well, I almost did in high school, but as someone who was catfished, it just feels so, again, nihilistic. It's just I don't like the ending, and I think the film squandered what could have been a very impactful premise for a very impactful movie. But yeah, that was my review of Trust. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put those down there as well. And movie reviewer next door.